Love him or hate him, his name is one of the most recognizable in the world, and that was before he became the 45th President of the United States. This is All Request History. Subscribe here, request the history of, well, anything, and you could be the next video. Thanks this time to Madison Wright for requesting the history of Donald Trump. Donald Trump's hubris and wealth could be traced back to his father and his grandfather, both named Fred. Granddad, Frederick Drumpf, was born in Germany, but left to avoid being drafted to the German military. He immigrated to the U.S., where he changed his name to Trump. I think we can all agree that Trump sounds much better than Drumpf. He found work in the Lower East Side of Manhattan as a barber, but moved quickly to Seattle, Washington during the 1896 Klondike Gold Rush. Instead of chasing gold, Fred saw opportunity in the other men chasing gold and made a fortune by operating a restaurant and a brothel. A few years later, the hotel started to fail due to his partner's alcoholism and the U.S. illegalizing prostitution. Fred returned to Germany, but their government discovered that he immigrated to the U.S. to avoid military service, and they denounced his citizenship. He was ordered to leave the country. Fred and his new wife, Elizabeth Christ Trump, moved to New York City in 1905, where he found work as a barber and a hotel manager. They had 3 kids. One was Donald Trump's father, Frederick Christ Trump. Fred was ambitious right from the start. At age 10, he worked as a delivery boy, a newspaper boy, and a golf caddy. He also studied carpentry and construction at a very young age. When his father died, he was put in charge of the company that was now named E. Trump & Sons, after Elizabeth, his mom. In the first year, at age 26, he built apartment buildings, private homes, and affordable housing in New York City. Controversy seemed to run in the family. Fred Trump faced accusations of dealings with the KKK, the FHA discrimination, and property management companies crying tax fraud. Despite all of that, he was listed as New York's most successful businessman in 1933 and the leading housing provider in New York City. By 1948, Fred and Mary had 4 children. Donald was number 4. His father described Donald as a fierce child. His favorite toys were Monopoly and building blocks. Now, his father was a strong disciplinarian who taught his sons that there are only 2 types of people in the world, losers or winners, which he called killers. Never behaving well in grade school, Fred sent Donald to the New York Military Academy in Orange County, New York. His classmates later described the academy as a place where students were encouraged to use physical force to get whatever they wanted, and basically taught boys how to become bullies. Donald quickly became a leader of 4,000 cadets. Then, after a brief enrollment in Fordham University, he transferred to Wharton University in Pennsylvania. He graduated with a bachelor's in science and economics in 1968. Now, the 3 Trump boys were expected by their father to continue the legacy of the family business. Fred, or Freddie, was the oldest and the first in line to take the dynasty, but had no interest in the family business and wanted to become a pilot. Donald became the natural choice as the next in line. Unfortunately, Freddie was plagued by alcoholism his entire adult life and lost his position as a pilot with TWA in less than a year. His alcoholism sadly took his life. He died 10 years later at the age of only 43, working as a maintenance man for some Trump properties and living in his parents' attic. At age 27, Donald took over in 1973 and renamed the business the Trump Organization. His first project was to purchase New York's failing Grand Hyatt Hotel. It was completely rebuilt and became a top New York City destination. Under Donald's management, many projects were taken on throughout the 80s, most notably the 11-story Bonwit Tower department store on 5th Avenue that became what is now the world-famous Trump Tower. Like his father and his grandfather, Donald had natural hubris and fierce attitude, and he became one of the largest real estate developers in the world. His numerous projects in the 80s included 1984 Trump Place, the 16-story apartment building and the largest in New York City at that time. His first casino was in 84 Trump Plaza in Atlantic City. In 85, he purchased the 65,000 square foot mansion built by serial heiress Marjorie Post, Mar-a-Lago in Florida. In 1986, after New York City spent millions of dollars and several years trying to rebuild the Woolman Ice Rink in Central Park, Trump took over the project and completed its restoration in less than 6 months at zero cost to the city. The Trump Organization continued its massive growth into the 90s. 1995's 40 Wall Street was a 72-story landmark building across from the New York Stock Exchange. 1997, the Trump International Hotel and Tower at Central Park West became a top-rated 5-star luxury hotel and restaurant. There was also too many golf resorts and clubs to even mention. In 1999, Frederick Christ Trump died of pneumonia at the age of 93. After his father's passing, Donald just stayed the course. The 2000s saw continued growth with more golf resorts, plenty of real estate, but also still plenty of controversy. The Trump Organization filed for bankruptcy 4 to 6 times, depending on who you believe, and most of the Atlantic City hotels and casinos went bust. His largest income in the 2000s was the introduction of the TV show The Apprentice. It ran for 15 seasons. This smash hit was billed by NBC TV as the ultimate job interview, and contestants could earn employment in the Trump Organization. With endorsements, sponsorships, and licensing deals, the show was listed as generating $427 million in revenue. The Trump popularity machine generated numerous products like Trump steaks, Trump cologne, vodka, bottled water, clothing, mattresses, deodorant, eyeglasses, light fixtures, coffee, and even Trump the board game. Throughout his run on The Apprentice, there were rumors of a run for president of the United States. In his 25th published book, The America We Deserve, he outlined what America needed in leadership, economics, and reformation. As a New York Times bestseller, it caused quite a buzz. The 2012 election research poll showed that Trump would be the preferred candidate for the Republican Party among voters. He did, however, not run, and he endorsed Mitt Romney for president. Now, since Donald Jr., Eric, and Ivanka were running most of the daily operations of the business, and because he decided not to renew his contract with NBC for another season of The Apprentice, rumors started to fly. And in June 2016, from the Golden Lobby of Trump Tower in New York City, with his wife Melania by his side and daughter Ivanka not far away, Donald announced his run for the presidency. Always mired in controversy, some of his business relations, including NBC TV, severed ties with him because he made some disparaging comments during that speech. Trump's 4 years as president were quite controversial. His supporters praised his economic policies and conservative views, while his critics condemned his rhetoric and his policies on healthcare and immigration. In 2020, Trump ran for a second term, and speaking of controversy, most people say he lost the race by 7 million popular votes and 64 electoral votes. Since his presidency, he remains a constant top news story, and he's as outspoken as ever. He resides mainly in his Florida mansion Mar-a-Lago. The family business is now run primarily by sons Donald Jr. and Eric, and the Trump Organization focuses mainly on real estate, hotels, resorts, and golf properties, although you can still buy a Trump steak online. Although Donald's net worth is constantly in question, the Trump Organization is estimated to be worth $1.2 billion and still operates more than 500 businesses in 24 countries around the world. Well, is he beloved or is he a bully? Is he crazy or is he a genius? We can all draw our own conclusions, but what is a fact is that almost everyone around the world knows the name Donald J. Trump.